So this is the Triassic period by Jennifer, Sophie, and Carl. So at the end of the Permian period, there was a mass extinction. It could have been caused by a bout of violent volcanic eruptions, climate change, or perhaps a fatal run-in with a comet or asteroid. The Earth was undateable, single, ready to mingle, but it was too ugly, basically. 90% of organisms were gone, and here's a treat for you guys as an actual fetus in a womb. Just kidding, it's Pangea. Pangea was just beginning to form, but towards the end of Triassic, it actually began to already split apart. It was very hot, had hot summers, and very cold winters. It was basically desert in the middle of Pangea, but so there was no ice. It was very hot because of the theorized volcanic eruptions. A plus snowflake.
So basically, anything that lived near the bottom of the ocean was the only thing that survived the Permian extinction. So the oceans were a little bit depopulated. They weren't doing so hot, not gonna lie. But the first corals appeared, so that's always an A plus for that. God, okay, wow.
The oceans had been massively depopulated by the Permian extinction when as many as 95% of marine life forms had been affected by the high carbon dioxide levels present. So mosses were also present during the Triassic, and also cute little ferns also really thrived during this time.
Some will say that I'm taking way too long to draw this fern, but ferns are important, okay? Like, plants were really important during this time. They were very dominant along this landscape.
And liverworts were also pretty common during this time. Okay, so you might be thinking, how in the world do trees survive the Permian extinction? Well, gymnosperms we know are cone-bearing plants, and they probably had some seeds burrowed in the ground which made them survive and flourish during the Triassic. Also, conifers thrived during this time, and there were a lot of dense forests in the more humid areas of Pangea.
So, as far as insects go, they didn't really go through any huge evolutionary changes during the Triassic. We still saw the same kind of things: spiders, scorpions, millipedes, centipedes. And then we have a new insect that appeared called the grasshopper, which, we all know and love. Pretty great. And, they thrived during this period, so awesome.
So this was the period which is credited with the origin of mammals. But not only was this the origin of mammals, but it was also where a lot of very large reptiles thrived and began to dominate the land.
So, this creature is called the Ichthyosaurus, and it lived about 228 million years ago. It thrived in the oceans worldwide. You can just call him Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, it could swim as fast as a dolphin, and it was about the size of an adult human male. And basically, it just lived off squids and other cephalopods.
This is a plesiosaur, and this was a marine reptile. May have laid eggs in the sand like sea turtles. It was twice as long as a horse, and it actually weighed twice as much as a pig. They actually breathed air, not like you would think, and they were a carnivore.
So this dinosaur is called a pterosaur, and it lived, okay, well no, it first appeared during the Triassic period, and it lived about 215 million years ago, and thrived for about 150 million years before going extinct. Basically, they colonized all over Pangea at that point, and the smallest one was no bigger than like a sparrow, and the largest one had a wingspan of nearly 40 feet. So, how could you even compare those two? That's huge.
The Eosostrodon was long with a sleek body and short legs. Its diet included insects. It was about 5 inches long and a few ounces. It was in the Triassic and early Jurassic. And this animal is super unique because it laid eggs, yet it suckled its young with the milk from the mother.
So this one's called a Coelophysis. It lived during the late Triassic period, roughly 210 million years ago, and it was one of the earliest known dinosaurs. So it was actually a carnivore, not an herbivore like a lot of the other dinosaurs during this time. And along with that, it lived in desert-like environments, So basically, the inner part of Pangea. And that's about it for this guy.
So this kid lived about 210 million years ago during the late Triassic period. He was about 2 car lengths long, weighed as much as a small cow, could run as fast as a greyhound, and its name means flat lizard. He was an herbivore. So these organisms we're all really familiar with. They include salamanders, turtles, snakes, and frogs. Just your everyday average Joes. This creature's name is Cincinnatus. He lived during the Middle Triassic period and in what is now Antarctica, South America, South Africa, and China. He ran as fast as a gray wolf, but he actually weighed less than a Pomeranian. He was also a carnivore.
Alright, this man's name was Descendodon, and it was a mammal-like reptile that first appeared in the Permian period. So, the question is, how did it survive the Permian period? Well, they don't really know, but they have recently discovered evidence that it may have survived somewhere in Australia. As far as size goes, they range from being about the size of a rat to the size of a horse, and they were all herbivores.
So this is a Megazostrodon. It lived in the late Triassic period through the early Jurassic period, and it lived in what is now Africa. It weighed as much as a AA battery and was an insectivore and or an herbivore, and it could probably run as fast as a mouse.